Thank you very much, Janie, and thanks for putting so much effort in pronouncing my name correctly. I know it's very difficult for anyone non-Dutch. So thanks, and thanks a lot for Chainalysis for having me. I'm honored to be on stage, and I must apologize to the Chainalysis team as well, because as it turns out, I'm the only one, I think, presenting a case study not having a Chainalysis graph slide. So sorry for that. Today I want to talk to you about a specific case in which we had a type of follow the money investigation, which eventually led to an online drug trafficker. And I think it's a very exemplary case for, well, many factors. And I will get back to that later on. First of all, I'm going to talk about a case which involves online drug trafficking. And well, as everyone, I think, knows, online drug trafficking is quite an old school topic, especially in the field of crypto-related crime. In the Netherlands, the first time we ever seized cryptos, that was in 2013, it was in an online drug trafficking case, and we've seen many cases since. And it's still very relevant, so that's one of the reasons I still want to talk to you about this. And we have seen spectacular cases in the Netherlands and also from abroad, and we've seen spectacular interventions. But still, Dutch criminals and the Dutch infrastructure plays a major role in the global online drug trafficking market. I've put up a picture of we see a lot of gaming elements in the online drug trafficking. So here we have once we had a facility with 3D printers who printed fake games, and then the drug traffickers hide their drug in it. So that's just the picture, and this is a Dutch newspaper writing about it. First of all, I'd like to point out that we can roughly differentiate 3 types of conversion of crypto to cash. And crypto to cash for many online drug trafficking business cases is a crucial element. Although it's completely online, the cash plays a major role. The first method, I've put it on screen, and I think even my laser works perfect. The first method is shown here. So on the left side of the slide, you can see the online sale process. It's a vendor selling drugs, being paid with Bitcoin in this case. It could also be another virtual asset. This is the production. So this is the seller who buys his drugs, usually uses cash for that. And then we need a conversion, because there is an income of Bitcoin and there is an outflow of cash. So there needs to be a cash to crypto conversion, or actually crypto to cash conversion. So this is what happens in the right side of the scheme. This is what we call an exchanger. So it's a natural person who just changes the money for crypto. And there are a lot of varieties on this, but in general we can look at this, and in this model, we say, well, this is where the crypto to cash conversion takes place, and it can be OTC trading, but it can also be a natural person meeting someone on, for example, a public place, which we see a lot. So this person needs to convert crypto to cash, because he has the model a lot the other way around. So he goes to an exchange where the cryptos will be converted to a fiat valuta, and then it will be transferred in many cases to a bank account, and then it's drawn from the bank account. So there we have the money laundering scheme on the right side. But there are varieties on this, and number 2 is the use of a Bitcoin ADM. So what we have here is the complete right side of the scheme is replaced by a machine, which is very handy for a criminal, but it also has some limitations. For example, the limit of withdrawal from such an ADM is not that big, and well, we see a rise in the number of machines, but it's not everywhere, and well, it's not that suited for the huge amounts of converting crypto to cash. The third method, and that's why I want to talk about further on today, is using a debit card, and we say crypto to plastic, and the word crypto credit card is used often, but it's actually mostly a debit card. So you have a wallet with virtual assets on it, crypto, Bitcoin, whatever coin, and you can use the card like you use a regular credit card, but the money is drawn from your exchange wallet or a dedicated wallet. These cards in general have very high limits, so you can take a lot of money with it, mostly a lot more than the credit card you get from a credit card company or your bank. And in many cases we've seen criminals using more than one card. And in that way it adds up and you can take quite a lot of money from, for example, an ATM. And they can also be used, of course, for expensive acquisitions. Well, that brings me to the case I want to talk to you about, and this was where crypto credit cards or debit cards were used in quite a large scale, and it served as an element in the criminal business model, but it also led to the arrest of 2 of the underlying criminals. So. It also has chances. And this investigation started as the result of a project we ran on crypto to debit cards. And we saw that certain cards were used to draw large amounts of money from regular bank ATMs. And it happened on a regular basis, on a structural basis, and that triggered the start of an investigation towards money laundering. And I think it's good to point out that in the Netherlands we can start investigations towards money laundering without knowing what the underlying criminal behavior is or could be. So we can start investigations on money laundering, and we can even get you sentenced for money laundering without knowing actually what happened in the underlying criminal activity. So that offers, of course, a lot of opportunity. And I know other jurisdictions have this possibility as well, but there are also jurisdictions that don't. So good to point that out. In this investigation, my colleagues quite soon in the investigations discovered that the same person was withdrawing large amounts of money from a regular bank every week. And this person turned out to be the owner of a shop, and I think most people know the kinds of shop, but it's a shop where they sell office materials like paper, pencils, cartridges, books, things like that, but they also have a postal service point in the shop. So it's kind of a multi-shop. And at a certain moment, law enforcement went into the shop, the field, already mentioned in the J5 panel just now. And we went in to investigate, secure as much evidence as we could. And it turned out that next to the shop, there was a storage facility, and these photos were taken in the storage facility. And again, we have the gaming element. There was a huge amount of Star Wars games, which were used as a cover-up. So the drugs were sent in Star Wars packages all around the globe. And there was also found 15 to 20 kilos of MDMA, prepared in pills. So it turned out that the shop owner and his employee did not just run a shop, but they also run an online drug trafficking shop. And how did their model work? They sold drugs online, dark web, and they got paid with crypto, predominantly Bitcoin. They used the debit card to take their earnings from the bank ATM, so they converted the crypto into cash in this way, and a large portion of this cash was put into the retail-filled teller machine that was in the shop. So that's an ATM, but it's not an ATM like from the bank or another company. It's an ATM that the retailer owning the shop fills with cash, and then the company, there's an underlying company behind the teller machine, and he makes a bank transfer to the corporate bank account of the retailer. So the money that ended up on his corporate bank account came from a legit company. And perhaps it's interesting to mention that the company behind this was UK-based, so there we have the link to London. And in the end, this is what it looked like, and it is on the one hand quite straightforward, on the other hand it's quite complex, and of course I'd like to mention that the owner of the shop was sentenced to 5 years in prison for money laundering and drug trafficking, and his employee for 4 years for money laundering and drug trafficking. So they were sentenced, and then I've redrawn the model we used earlier, particularly in this case. So what we see here is the credit card. The credit card was used to take large sums of cash. The cash was put into the ATM. Behind the ATM was an underlying company, and it ended up all on a bank account. So very useful for the criminal. And the reason I wanted to talk about this particular case is actually threefold. First of all, I think it shows the autonomy of a certain modern type of criminal. The vendor was very autonomous. He was able to sell his drugs online. He distributed around the globe through the postal service, launder his earnings on his own, and he did not need to maintain a large criminal network. He only needed to buy the merchandise from the producer. Secondly, next to the fact that it's quite autonomous, it shows us that following the money still can be a very, very effective method of uncovering these types of crimes of criminality. And I think there's a link between this online drug trafficker and many other types of crimes we see with crypto and which are addressed today. And thirdly, and that's closely connected to my first point, although the vendor was very autonomous, he used a very large variety of legal service providers. He used the postal service. Of course, he had a normal office and a normal shop, but he also used a lot of, especially financial products or financial services. And then I say Bitcoin is a financial product as well. But it's like Bitcoin. He used a Bitcoin to crypto card, which came from a crypto company. He used a bank ATM. He used a retail fill teller machine. He used corporate bank account. So he used it all. And so I regularly get the question, what is crypto crime? And then it's hard to explain. And I think this explains it very well, because it shows that it's not just crypto crime. It's one of the tools for criminals. So it's not just crypto, it's not just cash, it's not just the bank account, it's all of it. And they actually use it all in the same criminal scheme. And of course, there are exceptions and all wide range of varieties. But I think that's one of the main points I want to make. But I also want to, because there are such a wide variety of services being used, it also means that everyone only sees a very, very small piece of the puzzle. And I think that's a general trend as well, and I think it's discussed as well. And this is one of the great challenges we face when we have to fight criminality, and it's about bringing together information, and it's also been said it's about bringing together different types of specialized experience. So it's about financial experience, it's about technical experience, it's about legal and international experience, and you all have to combine that. And you have to combine the intel, or the data, or the information. But in the end, and I think that's the good news from the crime fighting perspective, it offers us great opportunities as well. And the main reason for that is we can cooperate, we can learn to cooperate, but above all, the intel is out there. So we have to combine it in an efficient way, and that's it, actually. Thank you. And I think I have a few minutes for questions, if there are any questions. Or
yes, if anybody has any questions, we take advantage of the time. We have many hands, goodness me. Would you like to shout? Gentleman here.
Is it predominantly Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies?
In the online drug trafficking, you mean? Yeah, it's predominantly Bitcoin, and we also collaborate a lot with Dutch Technical Institutes who analyze the online offender preferences, and we see that it's predominantly Bitcoin being used, but other coins are asked as well, but it's 90% Bitcoin.
Yeah, might be two questions. These on the diagram there, you've got the bit where it goes from Bitcoin to the card. Was that card linked to the? How was the card linked to the exchange? How did you determine that link?
How is the card linked to?
So you've got Bitcoin going to the card, and then he's drawing cash out on the card in an ATM. What was the lead there that got you to link that cash coming out to his wallet?
Well, what we saw was that a certain credit card or debit card was being used to draw a lot of money. So it was actually the information on the debit card transactions that triggered us. And then we went out to look for, okay, where are these transactions being executed? And then we found a certain ATM or several ATMs of banks in the village. So that was the start of the investigation and the physical lead. Is that the answer to your question?
Yeah, it does. It's really interesting. I'm guessing that the lead for knowing all this money is coming out, that was a report, I guess, was it?
No, it was our own information, or it was the field's own information. So we had a project and we started to analyze transactions, and then this popped up, actually.
Cool. Okay.
But it could have been a suspicious transaction report from one of the companies that was involved. And we're not blaming anyone for this because it was quite sophisticated how they did it. But it also could have been one of the private companies that said, well, there's something going on here, we report that. It could have been.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, apologies to the virtual viewers there for not hearing the original question, but he was asking about the type of currency. Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Can I give you that?